When last did you see a ghost? Just last week, I saw not one, but three. Really? Let me tell you more. But first, welcome back to Down the Line, the podcast where we take small moments from today and read them as signals of tomorrow. My name is Meg and I'm a futurist. Not the kind who predicts gleaming chrome cities. I'm a human futures architect, someone who studies how the systems we build shape the humans we become. I work at the intersection of foresight, philosophy, and human capability, helping people and organizations think better about tomorrow so they can act with more intention today. Today's episode's called The Ghost in the Machine, and we're exploring a question that's becoming harder to ignore. What happens to our humanity when AI starts speaking for us? 3 moments spread across a single week, each one small and ordinary, but together they revealed something I couldn't unsee. Moment 1, I'm scrolling LinkedIn and I see a post from someone I respect. It's well written, the kind of thing that makes you want to stop and think. So I leave a comment, something genuine, something real. A few minutes later, another comment appears underneath mine, polished and warm, but hollow. It has the cadence of human warmth, but none of the texture. I click on the profile and it's from a connection I've met a few times. We've had real conversations, good ones, but this wasn't them talking. This was ChatGPT responding on their behalf. And suddenly I felt cheated, like I'd reached out to shake someone's hand and grabbed air instead. Moment 2, New Year's Day. My phone chimes. It's a message from a dear friend, someone I've known for years, the kind of person whose voice I can hear when I read their text. But in this message, I couldn't hear them at all. It was beautiful, poetic, funny, but it had that AI shimmer, that slightly too perfect wording, the generic warmth that applies to everyone and no one at once. They used AI to write me a New Year's greeting. And I know they meant well. I know they wanted to get it perfect. But here's the thing. I didn't feel connected. It wasn't them wishing me well. It was an algorithm approximating them. A ghost. And somehow that felt worse than silence. Moment 3, end of the year. I ran into my neighbor coming home from work looking flat. Not angry, but deflated. His manager had sent him a motivational email. You know the kind. Thank you for your hard work this year. Your contributions have been invaluable. Let's keep the momentum going into 2026. Except it wasn't from the manager. Not really. It was clearly AI generated because it had that telltale smoothness, the corporate approved enthusiasm, the absence of a specific human behind the words. And instead of feeling appreciated, he felt unseen. He felt like a robot, a placeholder, a unit of productivity, a role, not a person. 3 moments, 3 ghosts, someone using AI to post, someone using AI to respond, someone using AI to connect. In every case, the technology worked perfectly, but the connection broke. Which made me wonder, if we keep outsourcing our communication to machines, who's left to actually connect? And that question led me further back, like way back. I grew up in the 80s and 90s before the internet and mobile phones, before Google, before we could ask a machine anything. I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was a hot summer's day in a small Eastern Cape town, and I was walking in the sweltering heat with even hotter questions on my mind. I was around 14 years old, and the questions were all related to the 91 hit song by Salt and Pepper. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things. You know the song, right? Anyway, I had questions. My friends didn't know the answers. I didn't want to ask my parents. The rugby coach said sex killed talent, and my biology teacher was 21 years old and just blushed and walked away. So I did what I always did when all else failed. I walked to the library. When I got there, I opened the door to this heavenly cool air conditioning and the comforting smell of thousands of books and the welcoming smile of the librarian. Hi, Mich. So good to see you. Hot out there today, she asked. Hot enough to fry eggs on the bonnet of a car, I said. How's the cat been, I asked. She said, Moses, he's just fine. Okay, not really, but I mean, you get the picture. We chatted. She inquired about my parents, about school. I asked about her kids and how her garden was faring in the heat. After pleasantries and an awkward question or two, the librarian, who is well experienced in people, quickly pointed me to the books I needed. Bottom line is this. If you needed answers, you asked someone, a person, because it was the only option. And in that friction, in the walking, the waiting, and the talking, the connection happened. But then I started thinking even further back. to the San people who lived in South Africa for over 100,000 years. Anthropologists studied them in the 1960s and found something remarkable. They only worked for about 15 hours a week gathering food, and then another 15 on domestic tasks. The rest, social time, storytelling, laughter, just being together. They didn't need to always be on. They didn't need to optimize. They didn't need to scale. They lived in what researcher Marshall Sahlins called the original affluent society. Not because they had much, but because they needed little, and because their days were woven through with human presence. Compare that to us now. We work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We outsource our memory to Google, our navigation to maps, our social coordination to WhatsApp, our emotional labor to AI. Are we even spending 15 hours a week genuinely connecting with other humans anymore? Or have we, without noticing, outsourced human connection itself? So here's the real question that anchors this episode. What are we really outsourcing when we let AI speak for us? And what happens to us when we do? Let me walk you through how we got here. The 90s saw the World Wide Web and Google go public. For the first time, information lives online. You don't need to ask the librarian or your neighbor or your friend anymore. Every question has an instant answer. 2004, Facebook arrives. Friendships move online. You can stay connected without ever actually even meeting. 2007, iPhone in your pocket. Suddenly, everything you need is at the tips of your fingers. Maps, music, answers. Other people becomes optional. 2009, WhatsApp. Texting replaces calling. Calling replaces visiting. Connection becomes text on a screen. 2016, chatbots go mainstream. Customer service without humans. Problem solved without a conversation. 2020, COVID. Overnight, everything goes remote. Zoom replaces presence. We learn to live apart, and many of us never fully came back together. 2022, ChatGPT launches, and this is where the inflection happens. Because now, AI doesn't just answer our questions, it speaks for us, writes our mails, our posts, our messages, our thank yous. We've moved from asking machines for help to letting machines be us. Each step along this timeline removes friction, and I'm all for that. But it also removed something else, a reason to turn to another human. Before Gen AI, we used AI to make decisions faster. Now we use it to make ourselves faster. We've moved from AI as a tool to AI as proxy. And that's where it gets tricky. Because once AI starts speaking on our behalf, something changes. The AI isn't just helping us communicate, it replaces the act of communication itself. So what seems to be happening? On the surface, it looks like efficiency. People are busy. Time is scarce. AI helps us keep up. Need to respond to 50 emails? Let AI draft them. Need to thank your team? Let AI write the message. Need to stay visible on LinkedIn? Let AI post for you. The promise is simple. Reclaim your time. Stay connected. Work smarter. And in many ways, it works. But here's what's also happening. We're starting to notice that something's off. Messages feel generic. Conversations feel hollow. Relationships feel transactional. Research is beginning to surface this tension as well. A 2025 study found that 52% of people who frequently interact with AI systems reported feeling socially isolated. Another study shows that heavy chatbot use correlated with increased loneliness and reduced real-world socializing. Stanford researchers discovered that people who used AI companions reported feeling emotionally supported by the AI, but their connections with real humans weakened. In other words, AI can simulate connection, but it can't create it. So what looks like efficiency on the surface may actually be something else underneath. A slow trade, time saved for connection lost. What could really be happening? Let's go deeper, because beneath the surface of all this, there's a structural shift that's happening. And to understand it, we need to talk about what AI is actually replacing, the acts that build trust. Think about it. When you write someone a message, a real one, in your own words, you're not just transmitting information, you're revealing yourself, your attention, your care, your effort. The other person feels that. They feel that you took the time, that you chose the words, that you showed up. But when AI writes it, that signal disappears. The message arrives polite and warm, but something fundamental is missing, the human on the other end. And when that happens repeatedly, we stop trusting that a real person is there at all. Because connection requires presence, and presence requires the risk of being clumsy, imperfect, slow, yourself. AI removes that risk. but it also removes the very thing that makes connection real, your presence. Here's the second layer. We're not just outsourcing communication. We're outsourcing the roles that humans used to play for each other. Think about the people we used to turn to. Friends for companionship and laughter and understanding. Mentors for guidance, wisdom, encouragement. Therapists for emotional support and reflection and healing. Teachers for curiosity, insight, and growth. Colleagues for collaboration, feedback, and solidarity. We're increasingly turning to AI for all of it. Lonely? Chat with an AI companion. Struggling? Ask ChatGPT for advice. Need to learn something? Ask an AI for assistance. And yes, AI can deliver these things fast, polished, available 24/7. But here's what it can't do. It can't see you, really see you. It can't feel with you. It can't sit in uncomfortable silence and just be there, man. It can't challenge you from a place of love. It can't hold you accountable because it doesn't know your story. Because AI doesn't have a stake in your becoming. It's got no past with you, no future with you. It's got no skin in the game, man. It will say what you need to hear in the moment, but it won't be changed by you. It won't grow with you. It won't be sad if you drift away because it's not with you. It's simulating being with you. And that is the illusion we're building. A world where connection looks abundant, but underneath, we're lonelier than ever. Research confirms this. A meta-analysis of 148 studies found that people with strong social relationships had a 50% increased likelihood of survival, an effect comparable to quitting smoking. In other words, human connection isn't a nice to have, it's life-saving. The ordinary exchanges, the friendly shoulder tap, the glance across the table, the laughter over coffee. These are the immune systems of our minds. And they're disappearing because we've made it so easy not to need them. So where does this go? Let me sketch you 3 possible futures. Future 1, the awakening. In this future, we notice in time. We realize what we're losing and we choose differently. We don't abandon AI, we use it, but consciously, for tasks, not for presence, for efficiency, not for empathy. We draw lines. We say, AI can draft the report, but I'll write the thank you note. AI can schedule the meeting, but I'll lead the conversation. AI can summarize the article, but I'll form my own opinion. And crucially, we rebuild the spaces where real connection happens. We protect time for unstructured conversation, for meals without phones, for walks without agendas. We recognize that being slow, clumsy, and imperfect is not a bug. It's the feature that makes us human. In this future, technology serves us, but it doesn't replace us. And the next generation grows up knowing the difference between being helped and being replaced. Future 2, the hollowing. In this future, we keep drifting. AI gets better, more persuasive, more human-like, and we keep outsourcing our mails and our posts and our messages and our care. And slowly, without noticing, we stop practicing the very skills that makes us relational beings. We stop knowing how to sit with discomfort, how to say the wrong thing and then repair it, how to be present without a purpose. Loneliness deepens, anxiety rises, trust erodes. And because everyone looks connected, because everyone's feeds are full, everyone's inboxes are active, we don't realize how isolated we've become. Until the mental health data forces us to see it. Until we realize that the generation growing up right now is the first to have more AI interactions than human ones. And by then, the skills we've lost are harder to rebuild. Because connection isn't something you download. It's something you have to practice every day. Future 3, the redesign. In this future, we don't just react, we redesign. We ask, what if AI could be built for connection instead of replacing it? Imagine an AI that says, you've been isolated for 3 days. Here are 2 people in your neighborhood you could reach out to. You haven't had a real conversation this week. Want me to help you schedule one? This email sounds like you're just being polite. Want to try saying what you actually feel? In this future, AI becomes a tool for human flourishing, not a replacement for it. It amplifies our capacity to connect, not our capacity to avoid connection. That redesign only happens when we demand it, when we refuse to accept AI that makes us more productive but less human, when we design for thriving, not just for efficiency. In South Africa, this tension carries extra weight. We've got a concept here that the rest of the world is starting to learn. Ubuntu. I am because we are. It's the opposite of the individualized, efficiency-obsessed logic that drives AI development. And yet, we're importing AI systems designed in Silicon Valley, systems that's built for Western assumptions about autonomy, productivity, and scale, systems that don't account for Ubuntu or for the relational nature of African identity. At the same time, South Africa faces a brutal digital divide. 40% of South Africans don't have reliable internet access. Data is expensive. Devices are scarce, which means the people who need connection most are the ones least likely to access AI, even if we designed it to help us. And the people who can access it risk losing the very thing Ubuntu teaches us, that we become human through each other. Which leads me to the phrase of the episode, algorithmic colonization. What an idea! Algorithmic colonization. If we adopt AI uncritically, we risk algorithmic colonization. Technology that erodes our communal values and deepens inequality. Scary stuff. But if we engage thoughtfully, we have a chance to design something different. AI grounded in Ubuntu. AI that strengthens community. AI that asks, how does this serve we, not just me? That's the opportunity, but only if we're awake to it. Let me bring this home with something you can do right now today. Because foresight without action is just speculation. For humans, write one real thing every day. A text, a note, a comment. Something you wrote, not AI. Just you, imperfect and honest. 2, notice when you're tempted to outsource presence. Is this a task or is it a relationship? If it's the latter, show up yourself. 3, protect 15 hours a week for unstructured human connection, like the sun. Make space for presence without productivity. 4, ask, would I want to receive this if I knew AI wrote it? If the answer is no, don't send that. 5, rebuild the habit of discomfort. Say the clumsy thing. Ask the awkward question. Be slow, be real, be imperfect, because your humanity isn't a bug, it's the whole point, man. For organizations, design AI that serves human, not replaces them. 1, don't let AI write for your people. Let it help them write better. Use AI as a partner, not a substitute. 2, measure connection, not just efficiency. Are your teams actually talking to each other? 3, create AI-free zones, meetings where no one brings AI. Conversations where presence is the only currency. 4, ask, does this technology strengthen trust or erode it? If your people feel less seen, less known, less human, the tool is failing. 5, design for Ubuntu. Ask, does this serve we or just me? Does it build community or fragment it? Because the organizations that win the next decade won't be the most automated. They'll be the ones that are the most human, the ones where people want to stay because they see. 3 moments, a LinkedIn post, a New Year's message, a year-end email, all written by AI, all perfectly polished, all hollow. And in each one of them, the same ghost, the absence of a human on the other end. We're at a crossroads. One path leads to efficiency without presence, connection without cost, relationship without risk. It looks convenient, but it ends in loneliness. The other path is slower, messier, more uncertain, but it's the one that keeps us human. Because here's the truth. AI can simulate care, but it can't care. It can approximate warmth, but it can't feel warmth. It can mimic presence, but it can't be presence. Only you can do that. The next time you're tempted to let AI speak for you, ask yourself, am I saving time or am I outsourcing my humanity? Because the ghost in the machine isn't the AI. It's us, slowly vanishing behind the words we didn't write. And the only way to come back is to show up, imperfect, uncertain, yourself. Because that's what connection is. Until next time, happy futuring. And remember, measure what matters, but don't forget to live beyond the algorithm.
Catch a wave at sunrise, feel the pain. Mind is clear, the future's beautiful.